I love bringing something back that was once really, really nice and sort of faded over time. It's maybe a bit of OCD, or I don't know what it is, but I love the idea of cleaning something or vacuuming something. It's an instant gratification. You see it beforehand and it's beat up or bad or whatever, and then you do this process, and then at the end you have a gem, and it's nice to have that instant gratification within a day or two, and that's what I'm all about. And cleaning a car up and bringing it back and making it look beautiful, I think is cool. But go out and get them dirty again, drive them, and experience that. That philosophy, the heart and soul of the Porsche is actually driving, and that's where my passion lies. All right, we're driving up north in Connecticut to find or to look at a car that was found in a barn. And pretty much all I know is that it's a Porsche and it's a 912, and it hasn't been driven in 20 plus years or so. He said the condition is okay. What that means is the owner probably doesn't really know what he has just yet. I mean, he knows it's a Porsche, he knows it's a 912, but there's so much gunk on it, I would imagine, that my goal today is kind of remove everything, strip it off as much as possible. What we say is make the car naked so you can actually see what's going on in the car, and then he can assess, hey, am I a winner? Did I lose on this car? Can it be restored? Can I drive it? All those sort of things. So the process today is to assess it, make sure it's safe for me to touch it and I'm not doing damage to it, like these little tricks I was talking about with the steam and the measuring and whatever. And then get it into a condition where we can then decide what he wants to do in the future. Am I gonna totally restore it? Am I not? Things like that. So that's what today's project is gonna be all about. What's up, buddy?
Dude,
good to see you,
man.
Long time
you
no
too.
see.
Come on, check this sucker out.
I'm excited.
All right.
So it's in here?
Yeah. Is that cool or what?
Yeah. Is it open?
Yeah, it's supposed to be. Want to do it?
Yeah.
Here.
Wow.
Oh, man.
This thing's wild. Oh, it's got hair all over it. Or fur.
Looks like there was a cat sleeping on it.
Yeah. First thing I'm looking at is actually the seals. Look at these seals. Those things are shot.
Wow. Well, it is, it's been sitting for over 20 years.
Was it sitting in mud or something, or?
No, it was in a garage in a house, and it actually had blankets on it. So it's just since the blankets came off, their cat went on it, but there's like no mice damage apparently. Which is cool. A cat
exploded on this. Look at all this. This is
what
crazy.
happens to cats in certain environments.
Can we open it, or?
Yeah, why not?
This is kind of a big deal right here. Ooh, see it? A little sticky?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah, these are toast.
But still, look at how good that interior is.
Wow.
It's in great shape.
Yeah, it is actually pretty good. There's definitely something living in here, though. Look at all this fur.
But you know what? This is a really nicely optioned car.
No, I mean, this is like stuff that you can clean, and it's going to come up. And look at the steering wheel.
You know what? That's an option. That's the wood wheel. That's worth a ton of money.
Wow.
And it's got the 5 gauges. This is a really nice. Look at Blaupunkt radio.
Oh yeah, look at that.
This is a nice unit.
Yeah. All right, let's roll it outside and kind of get it in the light and see what we have. Does it have the Porsche door close here?
Oh, listen to that. Nice. Isn't that amazing? After all these years.
Look at this.
It still sounds good.
Look at all this.
Wow. This is cool.
All right, well, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that it's not actually running.
Supposedly it runs, but I don't think we should start it. I think
Okay.
better off pushing it.
That's I'm good with that.
Yes.
Oh, hear it?
Oh yeah, they're dragging.
Oh wow, that's a nice green.
It's really cool. Yeah, this is called Irish green actually. It was not the most popular color, but it's about, I think like 14% ended up in this color. This was produced in 65, but it was late 65, so it was a 66 model year car, which they actually kind of split up the production in 65 between the two years.
So what is it on the?
That's the last year it was registered, which is 1990. Yeah.
No, but why is it a 66 though?
Because it was a 66, it's considered a 66 production year. What happened was they produced halfway through the 1965 model run of production, they switched over from 65 to 66 in terms of what the cars were considered. So if you have a number under a certain point, it's considered a 65. If it's over a certain point, even though it was produced in the exact same year.
Really?
It's weird. It's the way they did it.
That is weird. But that's cool. That's
Yeah. So this is
authentic.
late 65 production for a 66.
Can you pull while I'm pulling
Yeah.
this? Can you lift that? I'm guessing
Absolutely.
the spring is not.
Yeah, that's not staying up on its own, but
Yeah.
wow.
The big thing is looking at that number.
Yeah, there's the engine number.
7-4. Well, yeah, that's all there. Wow, look at the spider webs.
It's cool.
That is cool. I think we're the first person to open this in a long time.
Yeah. Look at that. Wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's measure this paint.
The Porsche 912 was manufactured for 4 years between 1965 and 1969. It had an efficient flat 4-cylinder engine and a low weight of 2,100 pounds, along with new aerodynamic upgrades getting it close to 30 miles per gallon. With its new styling and attractive price, Porsche sold nearly 30,000 912s. But by 1969, Porsche turned its focus on building the 914, thus ending the 912's production, but certainly not its place in Porsche history.
All right, Roger, what we're gonna do is I'd like to take that.
Cool.
We're gonna take some tape. We're gonna tape up the areas like this. It's got a huge hole in it.
Okay.
Now, it's not really gonna prevent a whole lot of water or moisture or anything, but it kind of just gives me a heads up, like, all right, be conscious, of this area.
Got it.
I get so engrossed in the car sometimes you're focused on one thing, and as you come across, you might take a little bit off. So there's some rust I see over there. If you
Okay.
take a little bit of tape and just kind of map out that area to give us a heads up
Absolutely.
that it's kind of my first little, still feeling this car out, so to speak.
Check out these tires, Larry. Back then you didn't have a tire rack, you didn't have all these places where you could get tires, so Sears was a real big retailer for Michelin, for some of the other brands, and that's where you went. And look at this, isn't this cool? Little Porsche feature. Yep.
I can't believe it's all intact.
Yeah, it's amazing.
All right, Rod, check this out. I'm gonna measure the paint as my next little step here. So it's 3.53.
Okay. So what are you actually looking for when you do that, Larry?
I'm looking for a certain amount or a depth that's gonna allow me, so this is all kind of consistent, it's gonna allow me to have enough paint for, so I can restore it. Because if there's nothing there, I
Sure.
can't. So a lot of times, I'll show up somewhere and I'll do one of these or something rare, and I'll say to the customer, I can't do it. There's just not enough. So
What's the minimum that you want when you're doing that?
It's really about how much you want to take off, which is usually about 0.2 mils, 0.3 mils, depending on how bad the car is.
Okay.
But when I measure it, I'm not really flying blind at this point. So if I just approached the car and I didn't have any crazy machines, I'd have no idea how much paint is here. So
Sure.
I could put a machine on there, boom, blow right through the paint, you're done. It kind of helps me. So the big thing is, right now I'm seeing there's about 3.5 to 4, 3.6, which is kind of low but understandable on this. And,
Sure.
and the big thing is, what it's measuring is everything going to the metal. So what I have to do is, deduce how much is there. Is it clear? Clearly, there's no clear coat on this car. It's a 65, but I got to see how much paint is there. And the way that you kind of check it's rough way to do it, but it's a way to get a number in your head. Is I go in the door seams, you put it on there. So we went from 4 to 3.
Okay.
So the inside here has got 3 mils. It's even less as you go down. This is almost 2. So if this has 4 and this has 2, the difference between the two of them is obviously 2 mils. So I know in my mind, okay, I have something there to work with. Now, an example, if I was going around and consistently this was 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, all around the car, which I go, whoa, there's nothing there. And I went in here and this said 1.5, I'd know that there's not anything for me to repair.
Right, sure.
So I would go to the customer and say, hey, the car is going to look as good as it can look right now. Well, maybe the tiniest light polish,
Right.
wax it, seal it, it's good to go. So that's a good way of making sure that the car is what it is or
Sure.
represented. If the guy said it was hit, you can verify, great. If the guy said, hey, this car is brand new, I have had it since the day I got it out and it's never been hit, and then you do it, then you gotta have to be a little bit of a detective and figure out what's going on there.
Cool.
All right, Roger, next step is I'm gonna use a steamer on the outside of the car. Now, I know we talked about this before. I just never, ever, ever use a steamer on the outside of the car for a normal car. But because this one is so unique in all the seams, or if I put water on it, it's going to go right through the car, and I'll spend more time removing the water from the inside of the car than the out. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'll use a steamer, get these little areas, and I don't know if you ever played with steam before, but it's full blast. Look at my hand. So it doesn't really get hot until right here.
Yeah.
So if you hold it out, see it's just moisture. Very cool. Now it takes forever to do this. Wow. But I'm blowing off a lot of the dirt. I'm not introducing a lot of water. It takes forever. You can see how it's a little bit wet, and I'm just gonna kind of scoop all this gunk up. Again, I would normally just wash the car, but I can't. It's just take me forever.
Yeah.
The problem is now I'm gonna go through tons and tons of microfiber towels. So this obviously is a very special, unique situation. So I'm just gonna keep working my way down, and you can see it's getting cleaner.
Yeah.
This is just to pick up. I mean,
Right, the
that was
heavy-duty
one
stuff.
swipe. So nobody washes their car and has that much, unless you're mud bogging or whatever. So I'm just gonna keep going through and blow out these seams, and it just takes a long process. So it's a bit of patience with a car like this.
So, Larry, you mentioned this is not something that you would normally do. How often do you end up having to steam clean a car?
Well, that's a good question. I steam clean a lot of cars, but the interior or the wheels
Right.
or the engine, the actual, engine compartment, never, ever, ever do the outside unless it is in a condition where it's, basically a barn find, which is very rare, of course, or for some reason, just caked on mud, because it takes forever to do this.
Yeah.
It's not super safe for the paint, meaning I am installing some scratches here, but the paint is so bad that I'm about to go restore it.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter at that point.
Sure.
The big thing here is that the seals are shot. So I have to decide in my mind, hey, is it worth me washing it down and then cleaning out all the water and finding and getting my fingers and towels into all these little spots, or doing it this way, which is a little bit kind of painful to do it.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, on a normal car, on an everyday, no. This is
Never.
perfect for engines, perfect for wheels, and perfect for interior, but never, ever, ever on the outside. 'Cause the paint is in halfway decent condition, you are going to scratch it. It's not enough moisture, I think, but it's good to blow out these little areas. So I love this machine, just not for the outside.
All right, so you're using water now.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we are. It's because it's not part of the paint, so to speak, and there's really no seals or anything down here. The water's hitting the ground and running off. And anytime you have the opportunity to use water, you should use it because it's tons of lubrication and it actually carries away a lot of the dirt. So I'm not gonna use the steamer. A lot of times I'll use it on, Borini wheels or something that they're really intricate and I can't get any tools back there. I'll use the blowing action of the steam to kind of, clean out those areas. But this is as straightforward as you possibly can get. So I'm just gonna put a little cleaner on the actual tires, which are unbelievable that they're still they're still inflated.
It's amazing.
Hit this.
I was thinking the dirt was holding in the air, but maybe not.
I'll let that sit a minute. I'll take one of my...
I love the smell of that stuff.
Yeah, it's good. Take one of my little brushes and kind of just get behind the rim as I'm letting the cleaner, as you can see, it's starting to turn purple here. It's really kind of eating away all the iron deposit buildup from years and years. See all the gunk coming out right now?
So do you always water him, wet him down first before you put the spray cleaner on?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Get them. You want to take the majority of their dirt off. If you think about it, the cleaners are and the products are tools, and you want to give them the best fighting chance.
Sure.
If there's tons of dirt on that spot, they're going to be fighting that dirt. Why do that? Get as much junk off and then put it on there and let it fight the next layer of dirt, if that makes sense.
Sure.
A lot of times people with soapy buckets, they go clean their cars and wash all that stuff, but they forget that there's junk on the bottom of the bucket. So they'll put the soap in there, and then it'll get sudsy, but not as sudsy as it was before. And I say, I don't understand. Why is there no suds? Well, I said, was there junk on the bottom of your... Oh yeah, there was. That soap is actually attacking the dirt that's in the bottom of the bucket, not in the car or on the wheel. See what I'm saying? So same idea. See, it's all purple now?
Yep. That's cool.
Yeah, it is nice. So that's my reason behind...
That's how you know it's ready?
Yeah, that's how I know it's ready.
That's cool.
Yeah, but that's my reason for rinsing everything down first.
So do you ever use a pressure washer, or
is
that too much?
No, I mean, you can on wheels. You can on paint as well, but you know how I kind of specialize in the older cars, so I don't use it a whole lot. Like this one, clearly. I mean, use a pressure washer, the whole car will turn into dust. But you totally can, especially in trucks or Jeeps or guys that do a lot of mud, driving and all that kind of thing. But I don't really use them all that often, just because this is my part of the business. Is these rare cars where you'll be accidentally blow things off,
Yeah.
So we'll take my little brush here.
Killer brush.
Yeah, this thing's nice. These are made in Germany, kind of like this.
Perfect.
And
it says right in the owner's manual, only use German brushes. By the way.
Yeah. So just get in there a little bit more, and then we're gonna rinse it down right now.
That's cool.
So now instead of the dirt and rust, we just are left with rust. But we'll get in there, we'll dry it off, and then I'll come back and play a little bit more. And so now I can the whole purpose of doing this is to see what we have.
Sure.
Because when there's that much junk on the car, it's like, wearing all your clothes and go to the doctors. You got to strip down to see what's going on inside before this is what we're kind of doing here. So this one looks halfway decent. We'll move on to the next wheel and keep the process going.
That's great.
Oh, look at all the junk. All right, so the next step is you take a little bit of clay. We're gonna clay everything down on the car before we polish it. A few squirts on the clay bar and the section you're working. Quick motions back and forth. It actually works on friction, not pressure, which is kind of something that people confuse. So I'm barely, like it'll just fall, I'm barely touching it, but it's the friction. So do that, little boogers come out. Wipe her down, and we'll just do the rest of the car. this will help save my pads when I'm using the machine to wheel this car and do what I got to do. If when it gets all gunked up like this, it'll, instead of getting it in the clay bar, it'll go into the pad and make my pads, get kind of dirty much faster, and it doesn't get a really great shine out of it. So this is a quick little step, takes no time. And if you drop it and it hits the ground, it's basically garbage. All the little particles on the ground will get jammed in here, and then if you go back up and do it, you have sandpaper at that point. So anytime it hits the ground, throw it away. All right, so I've just completed this little section, and now I'm going to start on this section here. As you can see, there's a pretty big difference. But what I first spent probably an hour doing is figuring out what it's going to take to remove all the junk out of this paint, meaning basically giving it a facelift. And the way I start out is least aggressive and go to the most aggressive, where the limit is, that is getting me this beautiful complexion, if you will. So what I started off with is a regular dual action polisher. I went to the 3-inch Garrow's Garage, and it took a while, but it finally got me to the position like this. It looks fantastic. It just took forever. So I said, all right, if I bump up to the 6-inch dual action, and then it was working a little bit faster. And I said, okay, it's still safe. And I said, let's go up a little bit more. And so now I'm using the Roops, which is a dual action, and it has a larger throw. It has a 21 millimeter throw. What that means is the dual action is spinning. While it's spinning, it's doing circles inside the spin. That's a regular dual action, so I was doing that on the paint. And it was coming out just a little bit slow, but if the paint was really thin, it would have worked out perfect, if that makes sense. So I said, let's bump it up so we can kind of grab a little bit more speed. So now I have a machine that's spinning, doing circles, but it's also throwing now. So it's a huge throw. So as this machine goes, it's gonna move, and as it covers more real estate, it builds up a little bit of friction and will cut the paint a little bit faster. So those are the steps that I took to get to this position. And now I have my formula. So I've done all the math and said, okay, this is what it takes to get the paint in this condition. And now I'm kind of just executing my formula. So here we go on the door. I've put a little bit of what I call leveling fluid on there. We're gonna take one squirt spray wax, and then I'll put it on 2 or 3. Just get it around like this, just minimizes the splatter. I'll spread it in with 2. Kind of slow, you hear the machine is barely moving. Right now I'm just quickly massaging it in to avoid splatter. You notice I don't have tape everywhere all over the car, just because if you work it this way, you don't sling things everywhere. Then I'll bump up to 5 or 6, put it on the paint, and go to town. The one to work is a 2x2 area. See how this is 2x2? You don't want to do any more than that, because your products will dry out. So I have some gouges right here. You want to make sure to be careful not to put a lot of weight on your machine, because you'll open up those gouges. See, it's starting to come. One of the big mistakes is people don't work the product long enough. So what will happen is the product will start out this big, a big product, working on the paint, and then it breaks apart, breaking into finer pieces, and then it starts to get this, see how it's starting to get shiny now? But if you don't work the product until it breaks down, it'll stay this big and actually make more scratches in the paint. And that's a lot of emails I get. How come I can't level the paint? Because you didn't work the product long enough. There we go. Clearly it's single stage paint because we have paint transfer. If I had clear coat on it, you wouldn't see this, it'd be a white pad. So we'll take our towel, microfiber towel, and look at that. See how it pops again? Our plan is to just level all the scratches and all the oxidation in the 20, 30 years it's been sitting underneath a cover, and all kinds of animals in it and whatever. So that is the first step, is leveling the paint.
When working on the interior of a barn find, It's vital to remove rodent droppings and mold as soon as possible to avoid potential health issues when inside the vehicle. Be sure to wear gloves when removing mold and mildew, and don't reuse the towels used to clean these areas. Once the interior is cleaned, it's a good idea to use an ozone machine for 3 to 5 hours to help kill any leftover bacteria.
All right, so Larry, what are we going to do with the tires here?
Well, what I have is a water-based moisturizer for these really thirsty tires, so to speak. I mean, they haven't had anything on them in 20 years.
Right.
So as soon as I put it on, it's really going to absorb in. The big difference is a lot of tire shines that you see are very, very shiny. Those are solvent-based tire dressings versus water-based tire dressings. And the big difference is solvents have a tendency to make rubber very, very hard and dry it out. So it's kind of, the upside is they're very, very shiny and they kind of sling everywhere, which is not great. And water-based is as you can see, it's still pretty shiny, but it's not going to hurt the rubber, especially on something this old.
Yeah, these were manufactured in 1972.
Wow.
So you think, and surprised they're still holding air. It's amazing.
It is pretty wild. So we're going to let that soak in a few minutes it'll absorb in, and we'll just put a few more layers on just because this, hasn't seen tire and shine or anything in so many years.
For most car guys, hunting down and uncovering a barn find is a dream come true, and I certainly fall into this category as well. But my true obsession is seeing through the dirt, rust, and mold and revealing the car's real beauty. Every car has a unique story that can be told through the condition of its parts. The engine, interior, paint, and even tires can narrate its history. There's no doubt more work needs to be done over time. But what makes these restoration details so challenging is understanding the limits of the materials you're working with. Paint, chrome, rubber gaskets, and even leather have breaking points, and knowing where to draw the line allows you to rejuvenate the appearance while preserving the historical integrity. Although this 912 sat forgotten for over 20 years, after a few hours of attention, it was clear to me that the Porsche spirit wasn't lost. It was merely covered in dust.
So what do you think?
Larry, the car looks amazing.
Yeah.
Just, I'll tell you, when we first got here, I had some doubts, but it looked a little rough, but it really looks fantastic.
Yeah, it came out pretty good. I mean, the idea was to get it in a condition where the owner can look at it and say, hey, do I want to keep this car? Do I want to sell it? What am I going to do with it? And it was so packed with gunk that we just needed to sort of unwrap everything and see what we have. And there's a bit of rust here and there, but essentially it's looking pretty good. The big thing I was concerned about was when I went inside, I saw some mold, and of course there was rodent and feces and things like that in the car. So we wanted to remove all of that so he could drive it around and experience the car without having any health issues. So we put an ozone machine in there. We cleaned it with ammo lather and wiped everything up. So it's in good condition. And of course the outside we compounded and polished. Sure. And the results are pretty good. I think he's going to be happy.
He's going to be really happy, and now he's got a really nice driver.
Yeah.
And, looks great.
That's exciting. For all the ins and outs and all the details that we did on this, the step-by-step, there's lots of information at ammonyc.com. I want to thank Roger for being here, and thanks for watching this episode of Drive Clean right here on the Drive Network.